Good afternoon, friends. I always pick the sunniest spot, don't I, to do a live in. So probably going to be the evening when you watch this on replay. Hi, I think you're going to love this, especially if you're a mum. I wanted to share a little bit of my story today, but not just to talk about myself, but I have a huge amount of new followers on this page. Not that I've got loads of followers, because I don't. I only started this page in May last year, but a lot of new people. And I wanted to really break down being wealthy and ambitious as a mum, particularly as a single mum, and my own sort of like a snippet of my own journey with that, which I think a lot of people will be able to relate with. And really the three key elements that I have learned myself around business, around scaling a business, around the skills that are and aren't required. And if you enjoy this, I've been doing a series of lives, so I think you'll love the other ones. They aren't about me, but this one is going to be about me. So I became single with my kids when my youngest was 9 months and my middle one was only 1 and my eldest was 7. I have 2 different dads, but I'd been with the second two's dad for like 5 years. Anyway, it was a lot. I've never had easy babies as well. Anyone else not had easy babies? And I'd say like something that I don't think is spoken about a lot is those of us that are seriously ambitious and also mums, and how that works, where we now live in a world where you don't have a village. I definitely didn't have a village. And how it can really feel like you need to always be compromising one or the other. And that was definitely my experience. And I also want to be very honest about my journey, which I always am, especially if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that. But, you know, there were a lot of times where I did compromises and sacrifices that I didn't and wouldn't ever want to make again. And sometimes I did just have to do what I had to do to make it work. But let's specifically talk about scaling a business and how it is that I have managed to become successful and wealthy as a single mum. And I suppose a lot of the stuff that I wish I'd known back then, and a lot of the stuff that I take my clients through. And I think the first point that I really want to talk about is the first time that I realized I needed to scale. And I remember it was the summer, must have been the summer, because it was sports day. And my eldest had sports day, I had the babies, yada yada yada. My youngest still wasn't in like childcare and stuff anyway. And I remember I'd just got the business back up and running from mat leave, and I was only working time for money at this point, okay? And I was like, fucking hell, like, I'm gonna do this, you know, like, I'm not gonna compromise my own goals, my own ambition, creating the life that I want for me and the kids, and also being the mum that I want to be, okay, which therefore required me to be like 400 different people and in 400 different places, which like it still does, okay? And I remember sports day came up and I had to miss sports day. And I had to miss sports day because I hadn't been hugely organised with the dates, because school dates. And I remember looking at the diary, and it was the difference between hundreds of pounds or going to sports day. And at that point in my life, I was like, I can't miss this. Like sports day is going to cost me, I think it was like the good part of £1,000. And I was like, I just can't do that right now. And it hit me so much harder than I thought it was going to hit. I'm going to be honest, I was not the mum that was like, I need to be at every school drop off. And like, I've always been a hands-on mum, and I've always worked part-time to be with my kids, but I've never been like, I've always been seriously career driven. But that one hit me like a ton of bricks. And it was the first time I ever thought, I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do this, but I need something. And it's what got me into social selling, which I ended up having big record-breaking sales with within 3 different companies, some in network marketing, some just in direct sales, because it really gave me that push to do something that felt residual, something that felt even marginally like passive, or something that felt like I could do it in a different time. And it really was that moment. Some things, the worst feeling when you know you don't want to be Yeah, exactly that. And actually what is really important to me that I portray now and where I am now is I never want to be like, it's easy, you can just scale, you know. But what I do like to get across is like, it does get to be simple. When you know the pathway, if you don't want to spend the next 5 years trying to figure out either how to scale, what to scale with, or the skills that you need, then that's what we full time on, because it's just a suffocating position to be in, you know. And I was like, I need to find a way where I can do what I do. I never really had a desire to work less. I've always loved what I do, whatever I do. I've always loved working. I love the hustle. I love all of it. But actually, I just couldn't sustain it, and I couldn't sustain the energy levels and the overwhelm that it created as well. And I think this is like one of my first key points is it's really learning and accepting that your life is going to evolve and change. Your life is always going to be fluid. Things happen, and we have to learn such a resilient skill set, you know, to be able to bend businesses around that. Whereas a lot of even the high achievers that I see are bending themselves around that, as opposed to navigating their own business and whatever it is that they do in a way that is always supporting them, which is what I've done now. And there is literally no feeling like it. And I won't go into the position too much that I'm in right now, but I've just started homeschooling my 10-year-old, and my 5-year-old actually, well, 4-year-old, I actually deferred him, so he's done an extra year at home as well. So again, had I not made the moves that I've made in the last few years, with the 3 points I'm about to tell you through, I just wouldn't be in a position now where it's all good and well being like, you can have the flexibility, but what about the fucking money? You need both, you know, like freedom comes from both. Like, you don't want to have the flexibility on 30 grand a year. It's not going to fucking work. And I think this is a very roundabout way of saying you can have it all, as cliche as it is, but you need to make certain moves. So I really broke down into 3 key categories. What has ultimately made this possible for me to run over a 6-figure business in a few hours a day. I work on average 2 to 4 hours a day. There are some days where I'll put a longer shift in, especially if I'm building something out, but I don't have that kind of childcare anyway, and actually I want to be living my life, and I'd rather be with my kids or, you know, doing something. But I really want to stress that I, like you, am someone that actually doesn't not want to work. Like, I fucking love what I do. I could do it all day. I could talk about it all day. I could work with my clients all day. I always go above and beyond. I'm obsessed. But I think even doing the personal development to get to the point where I'm like, okay, I don't have to work 12-hour days every day was monumental for me. So that first point that's really made this possible ultimately to go from an in-person 6-figure business, I want to state that I wasn't not doing well before. This was not about that, you know, but to go from having an in-person time for money 6-figure business to scaling where I work 2 to 4 hours and earn over 6 figures a year with a lot of residual income. So I have over 10 grand a month at the moment in residual income, which is the biggest safety net you can ever experience as a woman, especially as a woman without a provider. Ultimately, like, the safety and security that offers my nervous system for months where things go a bit petong, I need to be home with the kids, or something happens in my personal life, whatever it is like, okay. And also being able to do what you love more on a bigger basis than you've ever done it, working with more clients than you ever have, getting more results. Like the texts and messages, I've literally just got one come through right now, that I get from my clients every single day, that job satisfaction, that knowing you're making an impact, that doing that thing that you love. And that's my first point, is it's your belief system. It's actually rewiring your belief system to know and believe that you can do this too. A lot of people have excuses like, oh, it's not possible with my industry, or it's not possible with what I do. Let me tell you, I scale clients passively, or, you know, as much as you can be passive. I scale people to whatever they want, not what I want, not my model, not to fit my life, to fit their life. Anywhere from makeup artists, my clients in property sourcing, online fitness coaches, I'm working with a woman that's got a jewelry brand at the moment, whatever it is, this is possible for yours. But that's my first point, is getting into your belief system. And a lot of people think that the first step is how can I do it, you know? And then they sort of try to skirt around what it is that really you need to do or look at and focus on, and they try and buy someone else's, like, here's my cheap formula, or here's how I did this thing, or, you know, get suckered into some sorry, just getting rid of a phone call, is rewiring your belief system. And that's really looking at your relationship with money. And I had a pretty good relationship with money before, you know, I would have said that I was up there. But really what I found when I looked under the cover was actually I had some quite fixed beliefs around money, which you probably will too. So that's stuff like, I have to work really hard for my money. I have to really earn my money. And all of these kept me in a very fixed space, making sure that I was always in the busy cycle, always needing to feel exhausted. Like, subconsciously, I and most of my clients really relate that feeling of exhaustion, that needing to show up, that familiarity of it needing to feel hard and overcomplicated in order to earn money. So therefore, subconsciously, they only ever build out systems, services, their day-to-day running, or their lack of structure in their day-to-day running. They make sure subconsciously that their whole world reflects that, which is therefore why they are at an income ceiling. And that income ceiling might be anything from like $2,500 a month all the way through to 7 to 20 grand a month. It doesn't matter where it is, but until we really do this step every time of just looking at that belief system in the formula that I show people and dissolving it to the belief system that's going to support you, which is like, I can earn unlimited money in the hours that suit me, you know, to knowing that everything is truly possible on a subconscious level, you then become truly unlocked energetically, and you're then able to take the actions. That real second obvious one is having the structure and the strategy too. I can't tell you the simple ways that I do this every week with clients. And that looks different for everyone. Not every client comes to me and wants to build out passive products. I do a lot of building out things like online education, building mini courses with people, building out memberships we've got going on at the moment. Not every client wants to do that, but I find most of them do. They tend to bring the moving pieces to me. They never really have too much of an idea that they want to. But they bring what they're great at, they bring what they're already doing, they know the financial goals they'd love to hit, they know the kind of hours that would really work for them in their lifestyle. And I'm really good at looking at those pieces and being like, what about this? Like, what about we put a course together on this, and we, you know, utilize the audience that you've already got, or maybe an in-person type group thing, or whatever it is. So it's really having the strategy to be able to scale in the first place. And again, if you've not done limiting belief work, you won't be able to get to that point, because your limiting beliefs will say things like, I've not been in business long enough. I've got a client who's just released passive education. She's 1 year into business and she's smashing it. Or who am I, or I'm not qualified enough. A lot of tech phobia, I had that so bad. And then anything you've looked at for people that like show you how to build programs and stuff, it's so fucking overcomplicated and time expensive, and you're like, I haven't got time. That's the point. I'm maxed out. I'm doing like 12-hour days. So I show you ways that I'm like, you can build it in a week, you can build it in a weekend. It's the easiest fucking thing ever. So you really need the know-how. You have to have the idea and the vision, you know, and someone to help you put those pieces together. And then importantly, and one of the most important things that I did a live on yesterday, so you'll really enjoy that if you feel like you're lacking this, or the day before yesterday, is knowing your income producing activity and your daily method of operation. I used to run my business like a scatty mess, okay? And that was, listen, like, totally a rite of passage and totally part of it. But again, that just fed into my busy identity, my over scattered, all over the place. Everything had to be rushed. I was always overwhelmed. You'd always ask me how, oh, I'm tired and busy, you know, like badge of honor, living in my masculine, like. So therefore, of course, my subconscious wouldn't allow me to even want to or desire having a structure, because I thought, oh my God, that's gonna trap me. That's gonna make me feel like stuck in it. You know, I'm a creative. I hate to know what I'm doing every hour of the day. Like, that doesn't work for me. But there are so many ways, and it's completely essential if you want that kind of result, you want to earn big money in an extraordinary way, to know your income producing activity and to have a daily method of operation that is actually setting you up for success. That's one of the first things we do, is reduce that load down, see where you're just wasting fucking time unnecessarily, overcomplicating certain parts, and really making sure that you know what you're doing every day. I call it a bare minimum model. I can do a live on this as well, but I teach a bare minimum model, as I call it, which for me as a mum, as a single mum, is essential. There are days when I have an hour, you know, and I need to know that what I'm doing in that hour is truly what my business needs to move forwards, as well as serving on a very, very high level of quality with my clients. My client care has never been higher, ever. My client results and transformations have literally never been higher, and I've never worked less. And that is all a credit to these models that I sort of support the businesses to go towards. So it's really knowing those things. And then the third category, which is crucial, but again, you're not going to get to this if you haven't unlimited yourself and really cleared your own mind of knowing what it is that you're going to do, waking up in the morning being like, all I need to do today is those 3 tasks and I'm really equipped at them. But it's really having the skills. And again, I find a lot of this is very misdirected in clients. They come to me, they're super good at what they do, but the biggest elephant in the room is that they're undervaluing how good it is that they are at the thing that they do. And that in itself is costing them thousands. You will leave hundreds of thousands on the table for every month that you refuse to work on these areas on yourself. So I was doing this too. Like, I was full of value, and even when I look back at my first time for money only business, there is so much I could have done to scale that business, but I didn't, because of the stories I had around business, the stories I had around how I had to earn money, and the tech stories that I had, and the fact that I was undervaluing my value and overcomplicating the whole fucking thing. But yeah, it's really allowing someone to see how high value they are and identifying the skills that are gonna earn them millions of pounds ultimately. And that has changed the game. And if you listen to any of my other content on my podcast, you'll probably heard me say your highest paid skills have absolutely nothing to do with the thing that you do. You're already great at the thing that you do. You don't need another fucking one-to-one. You don't need to do another course on it. You don't need another certificate. You don't need to offer another service. You don't need to go and pay thousands for advertising. You don't need to go and delegate your social media to someone who's going to rip you off. Your highest paid skills are what we need to establish, and that is usually your sales and your marketing. And if you pour into anything for the next 1 to 2 years, you want to be pouring into those 3 categories that I've just said. And when we identify those highest paid skills, when I identified those highest paid skills of myself, it took me by surprise, because I was like, before, these were actually the last things I was prioritizing in my day and prioritizing working on. I was working on all the wrong shit, which is why I was staying busy and underpaid and not breaking past that few grand a month mark with that new model. But yeah, it's also, again, as a woman, I would say, like, feeling safe as a woman is one of the most important things that we need to experience. Our nervous system has to feel even safer than men's nervous system does in order to be able to thrive, in order to be able to have the creativity, in order to be an energetic match for abundance, in order to do anything that we really want. We have to feel safe. And you feel so safe and secure when you're certain on your income producing skills, and you're certain that every day you're getting better and sharper at those things. Because, and I was saying this to the girls in CEO yesterday, because that's shit that no one can take away from you. Like, I know today, if this business, for example, had to burn to the ground for some reason, I could take absolutely anything and immediately rebuild what I've done, because I know how to sell, I know how to market. I'm not holding on to things like, I just hate social media, or I'm just no good. Like, I'm not playing that game. And I know how to rebuild any kind of business in that way with those skills, and I can even teach those skills. And that, I think, is such a high point of confusion. Like, they should teach this at schools, seriously, it's just insane. But it's like, people are so focused on the thing that they do because they're so obsessed with the fact that they don't think they're good enough, which they are, that they're forgetting to work on those things. And actually, you don't need to skill up anymore in what it is that you do unless you're making hundreds of thousands from that one skill or one service. You don't need any more. And that's a really good thing to live by. I find I do this myself as well, so that I don't get shiny object syndrome, or that I know I'm not just in a story in my own head and overcomplicating it. It's like, unless I've made hundreds of thousands from that little thing, maybe that program or that service or that masterclass or that VIP day or whatever it is, I don't need to do any more. But until you've unwired these limiting belief stories about, like, I have to do more to create more, I have to build more in order to earn more, you're not going to be able to see that stuff. So those three categories of working on yourself, your identity, your belief system, actually having the strategy, the scalable strategy, which we can build out together, looking at what it is that we could do with what you already have, and really identifying and having that daily structure, and then really identifying what those highest paid skills are, where you already have some, and really seeing that you can take action now on what you already have. And sure, we will find some that it's like, we really need to upskill in this area, and that's fine, we're going to do that. But there's still ways that we can build, even if you've got no idea how to email market, you're not great online. There's lots of stuff you can have. Maybe you're amazing in person, maybe you're, maybe you have this, that, or the other, maybe you have a big network, whatever it is. And yeah, they are the three things that have completely changed me and my family's life, and really given me, and so many women that I work with, and men to be fair, that total certainty in the future. I don't have fears. Like, I don't have fears that everything's going to crash and burn, or if I stop for a minute, everything's going to fall apart. I know with all of me that this is it. The only way is up. I know how to keep that going. You're not in desperation. I don't chase sales. I don't persuade people. And I run a business from knowing my value, being obsessed with what I do, but for the first time really ever, creating from that overflow, like having time to live, getting 8 to 9 hours sleep a night, being present with my kids, and being able to really demonstrate to them not hard work, which is what I used to think I wanted to role model to my kids, but actually work ethic and being able to create this extraordinary life in an extraordinary way, because that's definitely what I would want to see them doing instead. So hope you loved this. Off for a teacher meeting. Have a great day.